I always say to people, invest in what you understand. I sit with a lot of people and I say to them, oh, so what have you invested in? Then they'll say, whatever, mutual fund, whatever, balanced fund. And I'm like, how does it make you money? And people can't answer that question. It is of utmost importance that you understand how you make money with whatever it is that you're putting your money into. Cows is probably one of the most traditional investments that we've had in this country. Most of us who come from Emakhaya, Lalini, you know, from the homesteads, we all have seen cows. We know how cows work. Cows, you make sure it stays alive, it procreates, it increases the cows there a lot. Voila, right? I mean, it's also been one of the investments that your mkhulu or your gogo will pass down to you. So livestock has become really an asset class that we need to be looking at. But what I love about livestock in South Africa is that because it's not easy for people in the inner cities, what they've done is that these guys have then created fintech around livestock. So you get guys like Livestock Wealth, we've got an app, the guys from like SV Capital, who also have an app-fed group where you can actually invest in livestock, in cows, in sheep, in pig, without you actually physically having them and having to manage them. So you basically pay for your cow, you buy it, it's a virtual cow, but if you really would like to see it, they can take you to their farms and you can actually see your cow. You can point it out and say, that's my cow, right? But you are tracking it on an app. They taking care of it. You pay management fees. That is also your insurance, because we know that eventualities happen.
Yes.
So if something is to happen to your cow, they can just replace it for you.